Welcome. Could we start with the Australian market? What is your assessment of how it's performing given the challenging macroeconomic environment?
New car sales here in Australia last year was at record levels. That was largely as a result of supply lines, returning to normal and back orders being fulfilled. What that's done in terms of our market, more or less car sales, is more used car skewed. What we've seen is inventory increase. Prices have probably come down or moderated somewhat over the last sort of 6 months or so from their COVID highs, I guess. Down probably around 10%, but still up considerably on where we were pre-COVID. And with things like cost of living pressures, migration to the country as well, there has been good demand for used cars.
On the volume of private sales in the coming year, do you believe the cost of living crisis will see motorists more likely to hold on to their vehicles rather than turn them over?
No, look, I think consumers sell cars for a number of different reasons. So they sell cars because a car reaches a milestone. So it's reached its 100,000 kilometre milestone for consumers, and that's often a time when they choose to change over, or it's hit 3 years, or they've had a change in lifestyle. What we've found in the past is when fuel prices go up, consumers have more interest in smaller cars over larger cars. So consumers will change cars for a number of different reasons. Cost of living is maybe one of those particular reasons why they'll do it as well. But what we tend to see is they may sell one car, but they'll buy potentially a cheaper car, and all of that is good for our business.
How are EV sales tracking?
Yeah, look, EV sales are tracking well overall. Looking at new car sales data from the FCAI, it looked like electric vehicle sales are up about 7%, or accounted for about 7% of new car sales last year. The issue for EVs at the moment, and we see this through our survey data, we have seen interest in EVs come off over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, and that's partly due to all those early adopters having purchased their EVs. It's now a more mainstream vehicle purchase, but you've got a combination of consumers looking at the price of an EV, and they still are expensive.
How soon do you see the federal government's proposed fuel efficiency standards influencing vehicle purchases?
Look, I think it partly depends on the policy setting that the federal government adopts. So if they adopt an aggressive approach and those fuel standard requirements are required sooner, then that will force consumers to think sooner and manufacturers as well about the sorts of cars that come to market. I think the thing we need to consider in Australia is we're a very small car market, and we're a right-hand drive car market, and there aren't too many right-hand drive car markets in the world. So in terms of a manufacturer's ability to change production from left-hand to right-hand drive vehicles and to change their production schedules and get more volume into this country when every other country around the world is also requiring the same sorts of standards, is probably going to be more of a challenge in the short term.
Will the standards put upward pressure on prices?
I think there's a risk that if the settings are pushed in such a way that standards are introduced quicker, there is a risk that consumer choice becomes limited and costs go up, particularly in those large SUV category and ute categories.
Cameron McIntyre, thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten.